Breaking news on this sex offender creep in New York who sucker punched a man, fracturing his skull and nearly killing him. He's finally back behind bars where he belongs. The arrest happening only after major public outcry over lax bail laws that let him roam around the Big Apple today. New York Governor Kathy Hochul acting like it was her idea. Never mind this New York Post cover that called her out.
I took action in my own hands. I directed the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision to immediately examine whether or not this parole violation occurred. Yes, it did. You could tell it occurred. This was a person on lifetime parole. And as of minutes ago, that person is now in custody. That is at my direction. The people of New York need to know that as their governor, I'll stand up and protect them.
But this was just one of the many crimes that have happened under her watch. Video obtained by the New York Post shows brazen thieves robbing a coffee shop and customers at gunpoint, right across from the office of a top defund the police politician. And the Democrat city carnage doesn't end there. It's complete anarchy over in Los Angeles. Video showing a flash mob ransacking a 7-Eleven and leaving the place in shambles. All right, Katie, I'm going to start with you. I can't get over the chutzpah of this governor.
Yeah.
I directed the Department of Corrections. That would certainly seem like a violation. Governor, with all due respect, or whatever respect you think you're entitled to, this was an attempted murder. The police made an arrest. A progressive DA made a decision to lower that from an attempted murder to a misdemeanor assault 3, which is not a bail-eligible crime. Now, let's be clear, just for the viewers. This man suffered a fractured skull, a broken cheekbone, a brain bleed. He is in a coma. This was totally unprovoked. The dirtbag who did it right there on camera. You can put this in front of a jury and tell him to run the tape and then go to the deliberation room and vote. This dirtbag is a sex offender level 3.
Yep.
Level 3 means he is the most dangerous, he is the most likely to reoffend, and he is a danger to the community.
Yep.
He is not only a sex offender, he is an individual who's been convicted of several felony crimes.
Yeah.
Now, this obviously, the reason she wants to take credit is because she's running for office.
Right.
Does she deserve credit?
Congratulations, you put one guy back in jail after he was let out and should have never been let out, given you saw his mugshot, many of them on the screen. He could have hurt someone else in the time that he was out of jail. And as you said, the charges are being lowered, which means that there's no deterrence next time around for him or for other criminals watching this who are saying, oh, well, if I do something heinous like this, I can just get off and not be prosecuted by the system. She is running against Lee Zeldin, who is a Republican running on a tough on crime policy position. That's why she's taking this into her own hands. It's a good thing this guy is back behind bars, but she could do bigger things like fire the progressive DA in New York City, Alvin Bragg. And also, generally speaking, you know, the issue about the way that crime has run so rampant and out of control is the further along it gets, the further the solution is going to need to be extreme. So New York needs a mayor not like Eric Adams, who talks a lot about fighting violent crime but isn't doing much to solve the problem. They need someone like Rudy Giuliani, no tolerance policies, broken window theory, and really going hard after these guys. There's a deterrence and no tolerance for criminal rights, but rather more empowerment of victims and preventing this from happening to other people.
You know, the point that Katie makes is a good one, Tyrus, and that is that, you know, we've got these liberal DAs. This is, I believe this is a Bronx case, and the Bronx DA is the one who made the decision to reduce it to a misdemeanor. Now, what's crazy about this, Tyrus, is New York City cops said this is attempted murder. I'm telling you, it's attempted murder. Now, if they reduce it to a misdemeanor, there's going to be a public outcry because they made it essentially bail eligible. Now they say they're still investigating. If they're still investigating it, why did they reduce it to a misdemeanor and let the guy out on the street?
Well, we're still investigating means like, oh, wow, people are really paying attention to this. Who filmed it? I think you need to look at what the real issue is intent. This dude, this is not two guys who got in an argument and a fight broke out and somebody got punched and got their jaw broke. This is a guy who saw his victim, put gloves on, measured him up, and laid him out. That's intent. That's straight up intent. He planned it. And then here's the cold part. He didn't run away. He wasn't in fear. He stood over him. He admired his work, and he casually strolled off. What we're seeing is you can make arguments about political people all you want to, but the embracement of the defund the police movement, we're seeing premeditated, brazen. That group that robbed the 7-Eleven, that was planned. That was probably a Facebook party. Criminals are emboldened because there is no fear. It used to be when you see someone get attacked, they would do it and they would run. They would go to escape. There's no reason for an escape. Even though they rearrested him, they still didn't say, we're going to move this up to attempted murder. The victim had bleeding on his brain, so he's never going to quite be the same. He has a broken cheekbone. He has a sharp, not to mention he'll probably never sleep right again for the rest of his life. All of that, if I did that to somebody, it would be attempted murder, period. And we still don't know if this guy's even going to make it through all this. There's complications. Right. He has unbelievable amounts of surgery going ahead. But what it all comes down to is you have emboldened the criminal element. And even with this arrest, it's still the same message. They didn't put any new charges. They're investigating. What else do you need to see?
Well, they didn't do any new charges. In fact, what they did was she didn't say we've arrested him, Joey, and now, you know, he's going to pay for what he did. She said, well, it's a violation of parole. Yeah. Well, a violation of parole is you don't get in trouble. You got in trouble and you got arrested. But let's talk about the fact that now what you've got are these, you know, flash parties or Facebook parties where they decide they're going to all gang up and go into a store and literally strip it of everything on the shelf. Where are we? I mean, I don't even know the question to ask at this point. Nobody even stops these kids and says you can't do this anymore.
The question I ask is of New Yorkers, which is how much does this matter to you? Because they get to go vote here and decide who they're going to have representing them and what laws they want to keep. I was made aware of a saying very abruptly in EOD school and military school to be a bomb tech, which is don't apply a Band-Aid fix to a tourniquet problem. And so without being too graphic, you can kind of understand what that means. And what happens here is this guy isn't in jail because of the nature of his crime. He's simply in jail because committing a crime violated his parole, from what I understand. And what really irks me the most is we show this screenshot, this screen full of mug shots and say, with this history of violence, he should be behind bars. With all due respect, no. With this one incident, he should be behind bars. It's common sense that if someone goes out on the streets with the intent to harm people, they don't deserve to be out on the street. That is a very simple thing. And if New York laws are stopping that from happening, then New Yorkers need to fix this by getting new people in office.
And it's not just New York, Jessica, it's across the country. It is, you know, this cashless bail, this social justice, progressive DAs worried more about criminals than victims, and one situation where people are having coffee and outside of a coffee shop, and a bunch of guys come out with guns with extended magazines, and they hold them up for their watches and their bracelets directly across the street from New York City Councilwoman who wants and has defunded police. When are they going to understand that they're not in this for us?
It seems like election times are looking like that, and recall efforts are happening all over the country, and they're being pushed forward by Democrats. I was doing some research about the recall of Chesa Boudin, and it was fueled in the beginning from disillusioned Asian American Democrats who were like, this is not okay anymore. And after the past few years of hate crimes against Asian Americans, they said enough is enough on this. And to Joey's point about voting, I went and voted this morning. I live in the New York 10 district. Our primary is on Monday. I did early voting. It's the district that was full. Bill de Blasio was in it for 5 seconds, but Dan Goldman is running in it, who was the chief prosecutor in the Trump impeachment. And Donald Trump did endorse him on Truth Social, so now we've voted for the same, or endorsed the same candidate, which is a little strange. But what's really interesting in the debate between Dan Goldman and his much more progressive counterparts who are running as well is that the progressives, someone like Maud Marin, who was a legal aid lawyer, talks openly about how bad Alvin Bragg is. And Goldman had endorsed Alvin Bragg when he was running for DA. So you're seeing people who are more traditionally progressive, left of a moderate Democrat on every single issue except for crime now, and saying that this has to be about victims. It can't be about protecting criminals anymore. And that is a trend that you're going to see across the entire country.
Incarcerated person, sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Person.
Incarcerated
I don't
person.
know.
The problem with that is no one's incarcerated.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That's a good
There are a
point.
few people in there, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, what Tyrus is
Apparently not
referencing
enough.
is that they changed the law in New York. They're no longer inmates; they're incarcerated people.
salesperson.
Salesperson, right?
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.